You should believe. Millions of believers can't be wrong.
Sure they can. How many people believe in astrology, numerology, psychics, and magic? People are easily duped, and especially so in large numbers. Also, your believers can't even agree on what they believe. J.H. Johnson writes that some 433 million Muslims believe that the Quran was brought by an angel from heaven. 335 million Hindus believe that one of their gods, Shiva, has 6 arms. 153 million Buddhists believe that they will be reincarnated. 904 million Christians believe a God made the world in 6 days. Joshua stopped the sun by yelling at it, and Jesus was born of a virgin and nullified natural laws to perform miracles. Why should we believe any of these fantastic tales brought to us from 2,000 to 3,000 years ago by ignorant, superstitious men?
Why don't you just have faith?
Quote from an unknown source, "Faith is what your preacher says you must have so that you'll believe all the other stuff he wants to tell you." Arthur C. Clarke said, "A faith that cannot survive collision with the truth is not worth many regrets." And Friedrich Nietzsche, "A casual stroll through the lunatic asylum shows that faith does not prove anything." If you insist that everyone has faith in something, I'll admit that my faith lies in humanity, the human ability to deal with the real world using human reason and compassion. I have faith that we are not born as flawed sinners. We are born whole, with brains capable of dealing with life challenges, unassisted by mythology and supernatural belief systems. Dr. Charlie Webb writes in his article, "Think for Yourself." Faith is nothing more than thought control. Blind faith is legalized slavery. Faith tells us never to question the evidence for truth. But should we care about the truth? Absolutely. Because if we don't know what reality is, how can we ever expect to know how to deal with reality? To find the truth, we simply need to think for ourselves and examine the evidence. Evidence is everything. All the world's evidence tells us that whoever wrote the Bible and whoever wrote the Quran knew absolutely nothing about geography, geology, astronomy, biology, or evolution. They thought their world was flat. They shared their profound ignorance of their time, and yet we are told to have faith that these primitive people knew more than we do, and only blind faith could swallow such a yarn. Also, if faith is all that is necessary to believe in God and accept the Bible as true, then doesn't that make all other religions true too? They only require faith.
If you don't believe in God, then what's the point of living?
Well, why does living need to have a point at all? Do the lilies of the field need to have a point to live? If you must have a point, then decide on your own meaning of life. We believe that it's much better to determine your own purpose than to have some church do it for you based on their agenda.
Doesn't being an atheist cheapen life?
Well, actually, religion cheapens life. Being an atheist makes life more precious. Since there is no afterlife, you must come to terms with the fact that it is the only life you'll ever get. If an atheist throws himself in front of a bus in order to save a child, that action is much more meaningful than if a Christian did the same thing. The Christian thinks that they'll just go to heaven and live there. Look at the 9/11 massacre in New York City and Washington, D.C. These religious Muslim people thought that their actions would hasten and ensure their entry into eternal bliss. But what they actually did was throw away the only life that they had in an act of faith.
But you must be forgiven for your sins.
What if I told you there's no such thing as sin? Sin is a concept that is sold to you by your religion. Paraphrasing Dan Barker in his excellent book, Losing Faith in Faith, would you buy a bandage from a person who comes up to you and cuts you in order to sell you a bandage? Religion tries to sell you a cure for a problem of its own making.
What do you do if you feel that you've really wronged another person or done something bad? You can't go to Jesus for forgiveness.
That's right, we can't. So we either have to get forgiveness from the person we've wronged or live with it. If you think about it, it makes us think a lot harder about doing the right or wrong thing before we do it. The religious person can just go on and do it, knowing that he can easily be forgiven by his church, or Jesus, or whatever. He doesn't even have to ask forgiveness from the person he's wronged. Did you know that Hitler was a Christian? He was a Catholic. And since he's probably asked for forgiveness in his last hours, he should be in heaven right now, right? Anne Frank's only sin was that she was Jewish. So to Christians, she should be in hell now, along with Albert Schweitzer, a non-believer, right? you.